podcast. My name is Barbara. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Diva S. I'd like to welcome you. Thank you so much for checking me out. If you're new, I hope you enjoy the podcast. And if you've come back, thank you so much for coming back. And thank you so much for the lovely comments and messages. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm so glad to have you joining me today. So I found my glare-free glasses, which are not 100% glare-free, as I see. And they have a crazy scratch right down the middle. These were one of Pearl's early conquests. So, but they should work, and I can still see out of it, but I don't use them for anything now but podcasting, but I did find them, which is what I promised to do. It's Sunday, October 1st. Normally I podcast on Mondays, but I'm planning to go to my parents tomorrow, so I'm doing it tonight, and maybe I'll still get this up on Monday. If I don't have time to do everything I have to do tonight, then it's going to be Wednesday, because I'm going to be overnight at my parents. So anyway, you already know if I made it or not. I don't know why I say these things. So anyway, I have been doing some knitting and been doing some things. Last weekend, I met Mary Beth and Helen of the Crafty Toads, who are Toad Hollow NJ on Etsy, and have a wonderful podcast, The Crafty Toads, and they're lovely, lovely women. And we had been planning on meeting for lunch somewhere, and it turns out there was a little fiber festival in the Lehigh Valley of Pennsylvania, which is it took me about an hour to get there. It took them much longer, maybe 2 hours, because they're in New Jersey. But it was a lovely little tiny fiber festival. They said it was their first year, so, but they only had about 12 booths, which I thought was interesting. But all the booths were really very nice, and I didn't buy any yarn. I did buy some fiber. I bought some Cheviot pencil roving. And so when I start to spin that, I will show it to you. I do not have any spinning to show you. I am so close to, I just have to ply one more giant skein of yarn, and I will have enough yarn to make a breathing space sweater, which is next on my list of sweaters to make for myself. And I'm very excited about that, but I haven't had a chance to do that spinning. So anyway, I was at this wonderful fiber festival last weekend and got to hang out with Helen and Mary Beth, and that was fun. They were delivering my prize. I won an Instagram prize from them, which was so exciting. I've actually been quite lucky lately. And I will show you that at the end of the podcast when I show you my goodies. So, but it was a lot of fun, but I didn't end up buying any yarn. I was trying to save my money because I am lucky, one of the lucky ones going to Rhinebeck, and I want to save my money for Rhinebeck. But it was a lovely little festival, beautiful wooded grounds of. It was some kind of it used to be probably a farm or a school or something, and now it's public space, and it was really nice, very nice. So I did that last weekend, and then this past week I spent much of the time being Nana. My son had the nerve to turn 40 this year. Last week, his birthday was on Tuesday. 40. It's hard to believe, at least he's my oldest. 40. Anyway, and lovely Allison, my daughter-in-law, decided to take him to Mexico for a surprise vacation. And she's been planning this for a really long time. And it turned out it couldn't be a surprise because my son changed jobs about, 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago. I'm not sure exactly the timing, but she had to tell him about the trip so that he could let them know that he would be away for a few days in September when he was negotiating that job. So so that they didn't miss out on their vacation. I think they had a lovely vacation. They're coming back today. So I haven't talked to them, but we've, but anyway, so Dennis and I were in charge of the girls. We picked them up Tuesday night and brought them home. And so we had them here Wednesday. And on Thursday, we put Pearl in the kennel for an overnight. And then we took them back to their house and stayed with them Thursday night. And because Isabel had school on Friday, she's in pre-K, which is very important. She had homework. I had to help her with her homework. And then my ex and his wife, who are lovely people, were doing grandparent duty. The handoff was Friday afternoon, and so they picked up Sammy and all the stuff, and they were going to go pick up Isabel at school. So they've had them for the weekend. So we were tired. I was tired. It was exhausting, but it was so wonderful. By the time Isabel was 13 months old, which is how old Sammy is now, I had a lot of time with her alone. I had done a lot of babysitting and that kind of thing. I have had very little alone time with Sammy, or quality time with Sammy, even though she's 13 months old, because they moved further away and closer to other grandparents, and I suspect they don't go out as often as they did when they only had one kid. I don't know, so I haven't had a lot of time to babysit, and I was so happy to have this time to get to know Sammy really well and be Nana, and I had a wonderful time. I did not knit a stitch the whole time I was with them. And Friday night, I was exhausted. And I was sitting there watching TV saying, I should be knitting or something, but my brain, I don't have any brain. And finally it clicked and said, now's the time to pick up your scrappy crochet blanket again, which I did. So I have it here to show you. By the way, there are no finished objects in this tube. I had 2 sweaters and a shawl last time. No finished objects this time. But I did work on my scrappy blanket, which I am so happy with. And I really enjoyed picking up, although I'll tell you the truth, I couldn't remember what hook I was using, and there should have been a hook with it, and there wasn't. So I took the hook out of my, I'm trying to find, I did put a stitch marker. I don't need it. My notions pouch, and I started using that, but I kept having trouble with it. Friday night, it just, I don't know, it was hooking the yarn funny. It was just not flowing smoothly. I thought maybe it was because I was out of practice, which I was. And then I realized I was using the wrong hook. The hook I was using before had a green handle. The one I was using had a pink handle. But I can't find the green handled hook. I have no idea where it is. Pearl may have moved it. I may, she takes things outside. I may find my green handled hook outside. So I bought another one, but I had assumed that they were color coded. This was just a clover soft handled one from like Joann's. I assumed they were color coded, but when I got to the store, they didn't have a green handled one that looked anything like what I wanted, but I had been using a 3.5. The pink one I had at home was a 3.5, and so it was just a tad small. So I bought a 3.75, which also has a pink handle, which is kind of a drag. Anyway, so I had to go buy a new crochet hook. But I was here, I had just done this beigey stuff. And so these are the rows that I added. And some of these are things that I have made. And then I started using some little minis that were given to me that are, to add some more color because it started to look a little dull. But some of those are small. And so they don't go all the way across. So it's interesting how different, and plus, you start somewhere in the middle, and you go across and turn around and come back. And so you have 2 stripes on one end, like these 2 colors have 2 stripes on one end. But if you look at the other end doesn't have either of those colors because they just striped onto themselves down here, and then they ended, and I added something else. So anyway, which works fine with the way my blanket is going. But I crocheted on this a little bit Friday night before I crashed in bed, and I crocheted on it all day yesterday. I'm taking the day off. I'm not doing anything. And I didn't even have the brain power to pick my sweater back up or start working on something else that I had started. I have a little bit of cast-on-itis, so I have quite a few whips, which I typically haven't been having. So anyway, I worked on my blanket, and I really enjoyed that. And when I finish this blanket, I'm going to come across that green crochet hook. I'm quite sure. But not until then. All right, so my main thing that I worked on since I saw you last was my Monterosso sweater, and it is doing great. I have finished both of the sleeves. This is the Monterosso by Isabel Kramer. I love Isabel Kramer's patterns. So I have both sleeves, and you can see it has a contrasting yarn. The main yarn is Fiber Spates DK in the dark aqua color. I can't believe I don't have a ball band in here. Well, I do believe. Oh, here it is. Vivacious DK. And it's 100% superwash merino. I don't know if you can read that. 200 meters for 100 grams. Machine washable at 104 degrees Fahrenheit. And deep aqua is the color name. And then the contrast is this very fancy, very pricey yarn I got at Maryland Sheep and Wool. And that is from North Light Fibers. And it's their Atlantic base, and the color is Jack's Blue. And this is Falkland Island wool that is then processed on Block Island, which I think is in Rhode Island. But I actually could be wrong about that. It's somewhere in New England. And anyway, it was pricey. So this is a 2.5 ounce skein, and it has 170 yards. But I was having trouble finding the navy blue that I wanted for my contrast stripe. And it's just the stripe around the sleeves and around the bottom, and I think around the neck. And so I bought it just to try it and to support the Block Island folks. But so I got the sleeves done. I'm really enjoying the cable work and the lace work on the back. I have it all memorized, which is really nice. And then it also has lace and cables going down the front on both sides. So I'm really enjoying it. I love this yarn, this Fiber Spates Vivacious DK. It's a really lovely worsted spun yarn, and I haven't had to do anything like alternate skeins or anything like that. It's just, you know, it's a tonal yarn, and I don't have any places where you can look at it and say, oh, that's where she changed balls. And I've changed balls many a time. So I finished the sleeves because I wasn't sure how much wool it would take for the button band and the bottom ribbing. And I wanted to make sure that I had long sleeves. So I did the sleeves, and now I know how much I have, and I think I can make it a little longer than I might have otherwise, because I have this much left. So I have a very messy little end of a ball and then a whole ball. So I should have plenty of yarn to make it a little bit longer and still be able to do the ribbing and the button band. My problem with it is I don't have the buttons yet, and I really hate to do a button band when I don't know what the buttons are going to be. But I think I'm just going to have to go to Joann's or something and get some temporary buttons so I can wear this to Rhinebeck, because this is one of my Rhinebeck sweaters. And then maybe I'll find buttons at Rhinebeck. That'd be fun. One of the things that I discovered was when I started working on my sleeves, I had knit about 6 inches, and I realized that my gauge in the round was completely different than my gauge knitting back and forth, because as you're doing the sleeve cap, you're knitting back and forth. And then once you pick up the sleeves and start going, I did this using magic loop. So after about 6 inches of the first sleeve, I'm like, wow, that's crazy tighter than the rest of the, I mean, it's even still a little tighter. And I tore it out and I went back and I went up a needle size. So the body of the sweater is knit on a size 7. I went up to an 8 once I moved to knitting the sleeves in the round. And I was conscious of trying to knit loosely. And I think that worked. These are all where my decreases are. I could take those out now since I'm done with the sleeves, except for the fringe, as the mean girls say. But the other thing is that I went down to a 6 to do the cuff and the alternate color, and a 6 wasn't quite enough, so I ended up going down to a 5 to do the cuff, and I'm really much happier with that. But I have a very loose bind off. I did a knit 2 together through the back loop bind off on this. I tried to bind off in pattern, but whatever. Anyway, so it's nice and stretchy. I have a sweater that I didn't even wear last winter. It was like my first really big, lovely sweater project. And I have short arms. And I thought, oh, great, this is my chance to make my arms just right. I made them too short. So I have to go back and rip them out. And not only did I make them too short, but I made the bind off at the bottom of the sleeve too tight. So I couldn't push the sleeves up. And you have to be able to push your sweater sleeves up, like when you're rinsing dishes and stuff. So anyway, it's nice and stretchy. It looks a little ruffly when I'm not in it, but when I'm in it, it looks fine. And I don't really care how it looks when I'm not in it. So that worked out fine. So that was the one thing. I really, really had a much tighter gauge. It's even now a little bit tighter. You can see this is from knit back and forth, and this is, that's probably the line. But it fits great. It feels a little tight across my chest. I'm going to call that negative ease. And hope I lose some weight. But we're calling it negative ease. I think it'll be fine. I can make the button band a little wider, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, I'm really enjoying knitting this sweater. And I love how squishy this garter section is. It's got a little faux seam going down the side. It's got a little faux seam going down the sleeve, too. Although it's the other way around. It's a little purl. I don't know if you can see that. A little purl stitch. But I'm really loving it. It's going to be squishy and warm and yummy, and I'm very excited. about this sweater, and I'm hoping it will be finished next time I talk to you about it. That would be fun. But like I said, I got a little bit of urge to cast some things on. That was the only thing I had going because I had finished my Yaksa shawl last week. So I happened to be going through some magazines, and this is the Vogue Spring Summer issue. And I saw this and decided I wanted it. And this is called, I don't even know what it's called, but it's by Melanie Berg. And I really liked it. So I'm making something out of a magazine I own. Isn't that interesting? Doesn't happen very often. Magazines and books seem to be just for, you know, entertainment. But I just really love that. And it partially struck me because I had some beautiful yarn, that exact color. Not quite, but very close. This is yarn that I had gotten in my yarn box. I think this was a Yarn Box Luxe box. It's called Clever Camel. And it's by Jones and Vandermeer. And it is 100% baby camel. 110 yards for 50 grams. And I have 5 of these. So I think that should be enough. I hope so. And it's in the light naked colorway. So I started this. And so it's got some I guess it doesn't really have a cable per se. It just has a leaf motif that I was really enjoying. But I got to admit, I only worked on this one day, and squirrel, something else came up. But I am loving this. I'm going to enjoy knitting it. I am going to finish it. But it is, it starts with a provisional cast on. And so you knit it long, and then you graft it together to make a KAL at the end. So that should be good. So I like the motif. I love the fabric. It's soft. It's a soft, very soft yarn, and I think it's going to be really warm. But, you know, how could I resist? It's like almost exactly the same color. Came right to my mind, and I thought, and I've had this yarn for quite a while. So I cast this on. And so that's Melanie Berg. I don't know, the article is called Wrap Sensation, but I don't know what. Oh, Maevh, M-A-E-V-H is what it's called. M-A-V-E-H. No. M-A-E-V-H. I'm putting it down there, I hope. I am winging it today. I should warn you, I have no notes. No notes. It's going to be a real pain in the neck when I go to edit this. I don't have anything written down. But anyway, so this is my first cast on since last we spoke. And then I got a message from the lovely Sarah Bauer, who is Sarah Pomegranate, and she hosts the Yarns at Yinhu podcast. It's an audio podcast that I really, really like. She's a lovely woman, and she did the letterpress cowl that I really enjoyed, and she had and we had a giveaway to give away that. And she has a new pattern. And she contacted me and said, hey, I know you like things that stay, which I really do. I've been thinking this is the year of the KAL. And so this Concordia is her new pattern. And it's hard to tell in this picture, and I didn't even realize it, but it's got a little bit of color work up here around the collar. So she has two collar treatments. She has the big giant cable that looks like a braid around the neck, which I love. That's how the letterpress started too. And then she has a turtleneck version, and here you can see the color work a lot better. A turtleneck version of this pattern, and it's like a little capelet or a small tiny poncho, tiny little cloak. I don't know what you want to call it, but anyway, I really liked that, and I love this cable detail. And I have always wanted to knit myself a poncho, and I will knit myself a poncho. This will not replace a poncho, but I thought this would be lovely and, you know, be just what I need this winter. And I have all that wonderful alpaca that I bought 2 years ago in Peru that I have, you know, I mean, I must have bought 5 pounds of this yarn. It's wonderful yarn, and I got it in all different colors of sort of natural colors, although I'll be shocked if they're not actually dyed. They probably are. But I'm making it out of 3 colors. I'm thinking that I'm going to use 3 colors and kind of color work it down, and maybe, I don't even know, but I had it in my mind I'm going to make it out of 3 colors of this soft fuzzy DK. Now the pattern calls for a sport weight. I do not have sport weight, but in it she says you could probably use DK without any trouble, and I am quite sure that that is true. So and this conversation, I had this conversation with her the day after I cast on the Melanie Berg KAL, and I'm like, oh, squirrel. So I started, and I'm going to do the braidy version of this because I love these giant braids, but these giant braids are over 28 stitches, so you're crossing 14 stitches over each other, and let me tell you, that is a tight fit, a very, very tight fit. And I finally figured out that I had to use a 3rd needle to do that, that I wasn't able to twist the 2nd needle around to pick up the stitches. I needed an independent 3rd needle to go through, make the stitch, and then put it on the right hand needle because I was just not getting it. In fact, I'll put a picture here. I put it on Instagram because I took a picture of it. I was so proud of myself. Oh, I'm using a 3rd needle. It's going to work great. And about 2 minutes after I took that picture, I realized that I had made a mistake when I was crossing my cable, and I ended up crossing one of the stitches that is not part of the cable. So I had to take tear back. Well, this is so tight. I'm knitting this so tight, and this is all my fault, but I'm just knitting this so tight, like I've got the death grip on this yarn. So it's very hard to move it around. So anyway, I tried to get it off my needle, and in the process of doing that, I pulled my needle out of, and this is my High Sharp interchangeables. I pulled the cord, and the cord is twisty. You know, this is one of those fancy cords that it twists around. I pulled that plastic right out, and someone suggested maybe you could just put it back in and super glue it. This plastic, when it came out, it expanded. I mean, that's how they get it in there. They squeeze it and it expands inside this. I couldn't put it back on. And it is totally, totally my fault. I mean, when I was doing it, I'm like, Barbara, this is stupid. You're going to break this. And then I did. So this got put on hold because I had to order a new cable. And the new cable did come. But meanwhile, since I had put this down, I had picked my sweater back up. And so I went back to my sweater. So this I still have to do all the way around. And then you pick up stitches going down, and then there's color work here. And then you go down into some cabling and some... Anyway, I really like this. I can picture myself wearing this a lot, but I could also imagine maybe not too much. But, you know, I can picture myself wearing this around the house. Because we keep our house cold. We keep our house at 66, which is chilly for me. So I can even imagine wearing it around the house. But I think this is going to be beautiful in this alpaca. And so I'm pretty excited about it. Plus, Sarah has given me a copy of this to give away. So there's going to be a thread. And we're giving away the Concordia pattern from Sarah Bauer, who is Sarah Pomegranate. And so if you have an interest in knitting this pattern with me, or by yourself, go to the thread. I'll make a thread and just ask you to tell me what yarn you're thinking of, and you're not committing yourself to anything. And how do you think you'll wear it? And where, how do you think you'll wear it? And where do you think you'll wear it? Because it's so interesting to me, this sort of capelet. I can imagine myself wearing it quite a bit, but I would like to know where you think you would wear it. And thank you so much, Sarah, for letting me give a copy of this away. I'm really enjoying. I love this braidy thing around the neck. I'm so excited. Although honestly, the turtleneck might be a little warmer because that would be a little more around your neck. The braid looks like it comes down a little bit, and so maybe not quite as keep your neck warmy. I don't know, but I love the way it looks, so I'm doing the braid. So there's no question in my mind. I am doing the braid. Oh, this is my bag from Nancy of the Round Rabbit. She's, I'll put the name of her company down there. It's Round Rabbit something at Big Cartel. Anyway, I'm putting it down there. I'll put it in the show notes. The show notes may be late since I don't have anything written down. So that's from Nancy. And this bag, this is the cowl. This bag is from Toad Hollow NJ, the Crafty Toads. This was a kit, and I love that bag. And this is in a bag that I made. And last but not least, another bag from the Crafty Toads. This is a wonderful tote bag that I got at New Jersey Sheep and Wool from them last year when I met them for the first time. This is my Speckle and Pop. I have the Mystery Knit Along from Stephen West. This is Stephanie and Rebecca got me. The Mean Girls. They are so excited about Stephen West. They have a 2-year-long knit along going on, which I intend to participate in, although I'm sure I'm not going to finish it. They want to knit up every pattern from the Best Knits, West Knits, Best Knits book. And so I think that's all shawls. I own it, and which is how I ended up with a copy of the Doodler pattern, even though it's not my favorite. Although, to tell you the truth, it probably would be a lot of fun to knit because it's got that same braid thing going on. But anyway, They're big Stephen West fans. And so they were all excited. They did the Mystery KAL last year. Last year was the Building Blocks Mystery Knit Along. And I bought it. I was going to do it. And then I saw the video on how you started and what you do with Clue 1. And I said, forget it. I'm not doing it. And that was the end of that. Well, don't you know, last week I was looking for something and I found this bag. I obviously hadn't used this bag in a year because inside were the 4 skeins of yarn that I had balled up and was ready to go for the Building Block shawl. And they were still in there. And so I looked at them and I thought, well, you know what? Maybe I should just use them to make the speckle and pop, because they weren't speckled, but they did contrast nicely. That one kind of pop color and so I thought it would work. And Stephanie and Rebecca are not using, the pattern calls for 3 speckled yarns that kind of fade together, and then 5 contrast color minis, that pop. And they decided they weren't going to use 5 different colors for the pop. They just had a contrast color that they picked to be their pop color, and all the pop colors are going to be the same color in their shawls. So I thought, well, I have 4 here. I can do that, and that'll be great. So I decided, what the hell? I have no belief that I am going to keep up with this. In fact, after reading the first clue, I guarantee you I'm not going to keep up with it. This first clue was a lot of knitting. I mean, I think I think the instructions are repeat rows 11 to 20 8 times, and then do this, and then repeat them 8 more times, and then do this, and repeat them 8 more times, and do this, and repeat them 8 more times, and do that and that. I'm telling you, there must be 200 rows in Clue 1. I didn't count them. So anyway, I am not going to be, oh, I hope that's not too much of a spoiler. Spoiler alert. Sorry. So anyway, I'm not going to be keeping up with it. So I started working on the cast on for the shawl with those colors. When I had first started thinking about the colors, I had gone through my bins here looking for speckled colors, and I did not have very many speckled colors, and what I had didn't really fade much, and so I decided to go with those 4 colors. So I was sitting there casting on and doing the first part of the shawl, and then it occurred to me that I was surprised that I didn't have more speckled yarn. And then I realized that here's are the yarns that are already in Ravelry, and down there is a huge box where I put all the yarn that I haven't logged into Ravelry yet. That's how I keep track of whether it's in Ravelry or not. And the yarns I bought in May at Maryland Sheep and Wool are in that box. So all the yarn that I've gotten maybe since March is in that box, because I haven't logged anything into Ravelry in a long time. Very long time, as it turns out. So I thought, wait a minute, I bet I have speckled yarns in this box. So I went upstairs, I stopped knitting, is not what I was doing, and I found speckled yarns in the box. So I scrapped that whole plan. So that's why I'm not showing you those yarns from, they ended up downstairs. So I'm going to show you my yarn that I'm going to use for the Speckles and Pop shawl, Speckle and Pop. And then I'm going to show you my shawl. And so I should warn you, I've gotten 3 rows done. So if you don't want to look, I will try to warn you before I do it. But this is my yarn number 1. This is the Jaime Lannister color, and I'm putting down the name of the Etsy shop down here because I cannot remember it. And this yarn did not come with a ball band or a tag or anything, which I thought was interesting at the time. My other two colors are from the Crafty Toads. They had a literary destination yarn club this year, which I was part of. I got it for 6 months, and they had some beautiful yarns. And these two were speckled yarns that I really liked. I think these two were my favorites. This one is Down the Rabbit Hole, so that's a reference to Alice in Wonderland, and I think this is called the Market in Akbar, the Marketplace in Akbar. So this is referring to Aladdin. So these are the two colors. So these are the three colors that I am using as my main color. So these are what's going to fade. And I'm fading them like this. This is, I'm calling, you know, he said to have a light, a medium, and a dark color. This is what I'm having. This is my light. The green is my medium, and this is my dark. It's got some darker colors in it, so I'm calling those. I'm calling these, this is my fade. I'm fading these. This is my speckle and pop. They all have speckles. I actually don't have very much yarn that has speckles. And unlike my original plan, and unlike what Stephanie and Rebecca are doing, I decided that I am going to have 5 contrast colors. And I'm rethinking one of my contrast colors. So I have not knit with any of the minis that I got from my 25 Days of Christmas from Legacy Fiber Arts last year. When I opened, you know, the package, I did make a tiny sock out of each one of them, but other than that, I haven't used them. It just feels like, you know, I should do something particular. I didn't want to just add it to my blanket. I wanted to do something, I don't know, fancy. So these are the colors that I chose to be my pops of color. These are the ones I'm still okay with. So these are the pops of color. These are the yarns. Is this gonna work? I don't even know. And this is the one I'm rethinking because it's, well, actually it's a nice pop of color. I think it'll be fine. And then a bright yellow. I was a little worried that it might not be poppy enough, but I think it is. Now these colors from Legacy Fiber Arts do not have any names. 3 of them are sparkly, and 2 of them are not. I don't know what the bases for these were. We didn't get really any information about the yarns themselves in that club. And so those are my colors. These are my yarns. And look away if you don't want to see the first 3 rows, because I started this afternoon and I got to the first kind of wacky row where I need to go back and look at the video. When he's got to do a video on how to do everything in the shawl, you know he's doing wacky stuff. Well, he's Stephen West. He's going to do wacky stuff. So that's when I stopped and mowed the front yard. Takes me 2 hours to mow. It's a beautiful day today. It's like, it was 65. Oh, it was great mowing. It was really great to be outside and do the exercise. Okay, you ready? Look away if you don't want to see the first 3 rows. And here they are. So you start with one of the pops of color. And then you go to color 1, which is my Jaime Lannister is my color 1. So that is what I did. So there it is. It's cast on. There is no way I'm going to be keeping up with this knit along and also finishing my sweater. So, but that's okay because I bailed before I even cast on with the building block shawl. And I got to tell you, I ended up loving the look of that shawl. Although Rebecca assures me that it was a lot of work, and even though it's her favorite shawl, it was a lot of work. And the problem is the timing of this is just not great. I have a Rhinebeck sweater and I have Christmas knitting, which I have to get into. So it is October 1st. I haven't done made a tiny thing in quite a while. And I'm going away at the beginning of November. I'm coming back right before Thanksgiving. I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks. And I would like to give the Advent to my granddaughters on Thanksgiving when they come, so that they have it and they can be ready for December 1st. Which means I have to gather, I've been collecting my tiny things that I made up here on the top of my thing. I have to go up there and figure out what I have, which ones are appropriate for the Advent, and start getting myself into gear, because I absolutely have to have that ready in a month. And frankly, I'm talking about little tiny things because what I want to do is I want to make, I'm totally stealing this idea from the Yarn Hoarder. Not the Yarn Hoarder, I'm sorry, the Yarn Harlot. From the Yarn Harlot, she had done a blog post last year talking about all her nieces and nephews, when they turn 3, they get an advent calendar. And basically it's like a cloth panel of a Christmas tree, and I think she puts buttons, 24 buttons on it, and then there are pouches at the bottom, 24 pouches where she puts little things. And so every day they take out their surprise little thing that they can't see in the pouch and hang it on one of the buttons, and they're all knit. And I'm totally stealing that idea, and that is what I'm hoping to do for Isabel. And my idea was that I would do one for each of the girls, but I think I'm going to give it to both of them. I mean, do they really need 2 advent calendars? I think they can take turns at, putting the whatever. I'll let their parents worry about that. Excuse me. So it's going to be for both the girls. And so I need 24 small knitted things. I have one lovely thing ready already. That was a gift. Thank you. From Diane. Now I can't remember which one I decided was the kids. I like them both. One for me and one for the Advent. Isabel's favorite color is blue, so maybe I'll give them the blue one. Aren't they cute? So I have one thing, and this will go tucked in one of the pouches, and I have some of the little socks I made last year. And I'm gonna do one of the little elves made with a cork. So anyway, I have to sit down and really get myself organized, because that is coming up. So that is also, if you guys are in the same boat, that's the Knit Tiny Things Knit Along. Oh, I'm supposed to be drawing. Oh, that'll have to wait till next time. I'm sorry. So the third quarter's over, so there is a drawing. We have a beautiful bag from Aggie DiCarlo, who gave us this beautiful bag as a giveaway, and that's going to be for the Knit Tiny Things. Aggie's Bags. And she has an Etsy shop. I love these colors. And with the butterflies and the contrast, I love. So anyway, so this is what we're giving for the Knit Tiny Things. Can fit a few tiny things in this, but I will do, well, I didn't even write notes, so that will happen next week, and that's for the first quarter. So you have 1 more week to get, or 2 weeks for the next podcast. So you have 2 weeks to get stuff in for the next drawing, and And Christmas is coming. Oh, here's the other one. Christmas is coming, so I have to get ready. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to give everybody. But anyway, I have some goodies to show you. I have been very lucky. I won this bag from the ladies at Toad Hollow NJ, who are the Crafty Toads. They had an Instagram giveaway, and I won. I was so excited. And this is a lovely bag. It reminds me of the Fringe Supply bags because it's a nice heavy canvas with a nice drawstring with love on the front, and I love the colors of that. And look at that, the yarn ball, so adorable. And this bag has all kinds of pockets on the inside, and it's a great size, and I may switch one of my projects into this. It's a great size, and it's very sturdy, and it's a box bag. That's the bottom. Anyway, I was really lucky to win this, and I also got Hannah Made It yarn, and I follow Hannah on Instagram, but I have never had any of her yarn, so I'm very excited about this. This is 63% superwash merino, 20% silk, 15% nylon, and 2% stellina. Isn't this beautiful? And look at these colors. I actually looked at this for my Speckle and Pop, but I didn't have anything that went with it. But I think this is beautiful. So thank you so much, ladies, and thank you, Hannah, for contributing this. And they also gave me Flying Wish paper. Who ever heard of that? Well, apparently you're supposed to write your wish, and then you crumple it up, and then you burn it, and it pops into the air. I don't know if you can see that, but it pops into the air. So like it's a sort of an interactive wish thing. Write it, light it, watch it fly, it says. So this may be something I do with Isabel when she's older. I'm not sure about lighting things up for a 4-year-old. But anyway, so that was very cool. So thank you so much, ladies. Thank you, Hannah, for contributing this. And I love this bag. I was so excited to win it. I was so happy to, and it was fun to meet up with those guys and get to see them again. So one thing that else I did, and I guess I did this right before I podcast last time, was I participated with Brooke from the Knit Soul podcast. She did a fundraiser for the victims of Irma. And so when I was out on her website, she has this website. She sells yarn. This is Fully Spun. So Fully Spun is her company. So I ended up ordering this yarn. Isn't this beautiful? The colorway is Grab the Old Bay. She's from Maryland, so this would be the Old Bay to boil your crabs in. This is 2-ply BFL fingering weight. What she does is she dyes the roving first, and then she sends it to the mill, and the mill spins it up from the dye. So it's dyed in the wool. And that's what gives it this look like it's hand spun, which is so beautiful. Well, she only had 2 of these, and I ordered them, and then I was like, oh man, I wish she had a 3rd one, because this is kind of almost a lace weight. 4 ounces, 650 yards, which leaves me 1,300 yards. But 1,300 yards is not quite enough for me to make myself a featherweight, which is what I want to make out of this. So she thought when on the telethon that there might be a little bit more, which would be good. But it turns out that there was not. So what I'm going to do is, she said that I should send this back because she's going to be having more of this come into the shop at the end of October. And since this is for a featherweight for the spring or the summer, I'm not going to be knitting it right away. So I am going to return these 2 to her. And when she gets the new batch, I'm going to get 3 so that I have enough of this yarn. But this is so gorgeous. I this yarn. So I'm so excited. So this is going back to Brooke, so I can get 3 of them because I love it and I would love to have a featherweight made out of that. And while I was participating in that, I was calling it a telethon. It's not really a telethon. It's a video-a-thon. She had several prizes, and I won a prize. I won enough Shibui knits to make either this hat or this cowl. And I think they are so beautiful. This is the Rise Cable Hat and Cowl by Shelly Anderson. Rise. But I may be in touch. This was from a yarn shop in Baltimore, which the name is escaping me. I'm putting it down on the screen right now. And I may be contacting, the woman who runs that is Amy. I may be contacting Amy and ordering another set of these so that I can make both the cowl and the hat. So this is 2 skeins of drift, which is 85% extra fine merino and 15% cashmere. And this is in the ash colorway. And there are 2 of those. They're 110 yards in 50 grams. So this is 220 yards of the drift. And then this silk cloud. It's interesting because I just saw the Grocery Girls new episode and they got some of this silk. Shibui was at their retreat and they got some of this silk cloud. It's 60% kid mohair, 40% silk, also in the colorway ash. 330 yards. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to hold the mohair and the drift together and knit them together and make this Rise hat and cowl. And I just really like them a lot. So I will use this pattern with this yarn. Isn't this gorgeous? Oh my gosh. So I'm thinking maybe I need to get another set like this. Maybe I need to get another set like this so that I can make both of them. So this was another prize that I won. I have just been so lucky. Oh my gosh. And so many people have been so generous, donating prizes and and Sarah sending me the Concord pattern. Really, really lovely. But you can get the Concord pattern. So I will start a thread and then you can tell me what you think you would knit it out of and how you think you would wear it and when you think you would wear it. And so that's fun. So I will start that. So the other knit along that we have going, Sharon at the Moms with Yarn and I are co-sponsoring a Spirit of Rhinebeck knit along for everyone needs a Rhinebeck sweater. Everyone needs a Rhinebeck sweater. Whether or not you're going to Rhinebeck, you still need a Rhinebeck sweater. If you like to knit sweaters, and you want to, obviously. But anyway, so we're having the Spirit of Rhinebeck knit along, and it's for sweaters. And I think the official end date is the 15th. But I think that my next podcast might be on the 16th. So I will close that thread because every 2 weeks, today's the 1st, Monday's the 2nd, plus 14 would be the 16th. So I will close that thread right before I podcast next and draw a winner. And I have not picked out the prize yet. So you're doing this and you don't even know what the prize is. It's something that I already own because I won't be, well, or I could just say, since I haven't announced what the prize is now, I might as well announce it later and just make it something that I buy at Rhinebeck. I will put together a prize package for the winner from stuff I buy at Rhinebeck. How would that be? Is that too weird to like announce a winner and you don't know what you're getting until I get back from Rhinebeck? I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? Well, I'll think about that. And if I decide that's too weird, I'll pick something and I'll show it when I announce the winner. Or maybe what I'll do is I'll show it when I announce the winner, and when the winner gets in touch with me, they can say, yeah, I would like that, or no, I'll pick from door number 2, whatever you're going to get me from Rhinebeck, and we'll do something like that. So maybe that's what I'll do. I'll give you a choice, whoever the winner is. I will give you a choice. And we have some beautiful sweaters, so go check out that thread of the finished objects. They are gorgeous. And so we'll be drawing 2 winners, one from the finished objects thread and one from the chatter thread, because, you know, not everybody's going to finish their sweater, and if they're not going to Rhinebeck, then maybe they're not feeling quite so motivated. But if you've participated, then you can still possibly win. So we'll do that. So anyway, that's what's going on here. I have a giant pile of stuff. No finished objects, lots of whips. And it's interesting because I'm very excited about Rhinebeck. Oh, and they've opened up registration for Vogue Knitting Live New York in January. But it's limited, the registration right this minute is limited to the people who are going to spend a lot of money and buy one of their very fancy packages. They have these fancy packages that are like $700 and more, for like 4 classes and 3 lectures and a cocktail out party and a dinner, and a swag bag and a gift certificate to Vogue.com, VogueKnitting.com or something like that. Anyway, but it's a lot of money for $700, $710, I think. But I did notice that a couple of the classes are already sold out. So a couple of those classes were very popular with the people who were buying these fancy packages. But I don't know anybody. I'm not going to know anybody at that cocktail party, and I'm not going to know anybody at that dinner, although, you know, I'm an extrovert. I can meet people. But I'm not spending $700. So I'm waiting for them to open up wider registration. They have a package for 3 3-hour classes and the 3 days at the marketplace for a reasonable price. And I think that's what I'm going for. I've been looking at the classes, trying to pick my classes. So I'm ready to go as soon as they open up registration, because I do plan to go to Vogue Knitting Live this year again, or next year in January. Again, I had a wonderful time last year. I should warn Sharon, I'm going to be calling you. See if you want to go out to dinner again. Sharon is the Bronx knitter, and so she lives in the Bronx. But turns out it takes her almost as long to get to Manhattan as it takes me from Pennsylvania. That's kind of weird, but that's how it is in New York. So anyway, so registration for that is coming very soon. So if you're interested in Vogue Knitting Live in New York in January, keep an eye out on their website, because I'm expecting very soon for them to open up registration to everybody and not just people getting those fancy packages. So I'm checking it periodically. I could check my emails because I should be getting an email. I do get their newsletter. So anyway, that's what's going on with me. I am going to visit my parents tomorrow, and my plan is, I asked Dennis if this is like a jerky thing to do, and he said he didn't think it was. But my parents are feeling old these days, and they're not traveling very much. My dad is 86. My mom turns 85 at the end of the month, and my mother is not making new memories these days. So it's kind of sad to see, but she's not too frustrated by it, which I find very gratifying and surprising to me. I think I would be really frustrated if, you know, I couldn't remember things, and, you know, But she and my dad are coping with it pretty well, but she's not remembering things very well. And so, which is why I feel like maybe it's a jerky thing to do, but I'm planning on bringing the sweater that I knit my mother for her birthday at the end of the month with me and asking her to try it on. Because what I really don't want is to get there at the end of October, discover that it doesn't fit her, and then I'm going away the week after that, and I'll be gone all month. So, and I won't be able to do anything about it. So the sweater is the Curry In, which I showed you last week. And it only took me 3 days to knit. It was a very fast knit, a very bulky yarn. And the fact is that if the sweater doesn't fit her, there's really nothing I can do to really adjust the size except take it apart and knit a different size. But I can do that. It only took me 3 days to knit the sweater, and I have time to do that if I know now that the sweater's not going to fit her. So I'm bringing the sweater with me. I'm asking her to try it on. And I know that if I don't leave that sweater with her, she won't remember that she tried it on, and it'll be a surprise for her on her birthday, and then she'll get to keep the sweater, which will help her remember the sweater, which is why I was, thought, I'm not playing a trick on her or anything. I just want to, before I weave in the ends and block it and call it done, I want to make sure it's going to fit her so that I have time to fix it. So, but I don't know. Anyway, that's my plan. Dennis says it's not a jerky thing to do. So I'm doing it, even though I know perfectly well that when I give her that sweater on her birthday, it'll be a surprise because she won't remember. So anyway, but I'm going to go visit, and haven't seen them in a little while. Well, it's been a month, and so I don't like to make that long. So I'll go, and then I'll go in a couple weeks for her birthday, and that'll be fun too. And then, and hopefully the sweater will fit her, and we'll all know it's going to fit her fine. So I think I'll be fine with it. It just feels a little, I don't even know why. I'm weird. So that's it. I hope you have lots and lots of time to do the crafting that brings you joy. And I want to thank you so much for joining me, my podcast. And I will talk to you again in 2 weeks. Bye.